everybody, and welcome to the channel. It's Paulie Esther here. And yesterday we read the lore on Vittorio Toscano, the new survivor. The new chapter coming out tomorrow, Forged in Fog. November 22nd, Tuesday is when this chapter is going to release. If you're not watching this video today. And today we're going to read the lore on the killer for the new Forged in Fog chapter, the Knight. And Dead by Daylight tweeted out, his guards stand loyal as at his command, following orders with unwavering cruelty. The Knight is here. And when you click that link, it takes you to the official Dead by Daylight website where we have this lore post. The Knight Dead by Daylight Killer Lore. So let's go ahead and read through this. Tarhos Kovacs didn't remember much about his childhood, but what he did remember, he would chase his entire life. He remembered the cries and screams in the village. He remembered his mother forcing him to swallow a thick, black fluid-like medicine. He remembered collapsing to the hard floor, only to awaken in a mass grave, buried under a crush of bodies, with the sound of the village burning in his ears. He remembered pushing, pulling, and climbing to the top of the bloody mass, only to be seized by death, destruction, and silence. The indifferent and impenetrable silence. A high-pitched whine suddenly sounded in his ears, and his skin began to prickle as he realized he was in the presence of something he couldn't possibly understand. And though he couldn't articulate what he was experiencing, he knew it wasn't pain, grief, or fear. It was something else, something closer to awe. As Tarhos tried to make sense of the moment, he didn't notice the men who approached him from behind. He didn't even react when they carried him off to a horse-drawn buggy and locked him up in a small wooden cage with other slaves. He just stared at the scene, mesmerized. And even as they rode away, telling him he was headed for Italy, Tarhos stared through the wooden cracks with eyes wide open and a heart wanting to understand what could not be understood. And from that day on, Tarhos belonged to the Guardia Campagna, where he trained under Kadir Hakam. There, he learned to wield weapons, forge armor, and recite a code of chivalry to obediently serve those who would employ his services. As the years passed, Tarhos made few friends amongst the hostile and competitive mercenaries. But his skill, strength, and smarts attracted a small following who believed his courage brought them luck in battle, and that one day he would help them earn their collective freedom. 3 of his followers pledged their undying allegiance to Tarhos and came to be known as his faithful 3, his pack. Alejandro Santiago apprenticed with the guard company's armorer. Durkos Malachek showed an aptitude for stealth and silent kills, and Sander Raul matched Tarhos in size and strength, his weapon of choice a massive battle axe. As the Guardia Campagna carried out campaigns in faraway lands, Tarhos dispatched countless enemies. Years passed, blood flowed, and yet all that killing still didn't bring Tarhos closer to what he had experienced in his village. Nevertheless, for his bravery in battle, Tarhos was granted knighthood and freedom. The Hungarian slave was now liberated, his brutality rewarded, though his heart still longed for something else, something he could not name or describe. Tired of taking orders from those he considered his inferiors, Tarhos left the Guardia Campagna to strike out on his own. Their leader, however, refused to release his followers. Determined to raise enough gold to liberate his followers, Tarhos found employment with a wealthy Italian lord. Vittorio Toscano was the Duke of Poroscuro. He was also a scholar, a world traveler, and a collector of ancient knowledge that had been hidden by an unknown cabal of mystics. A stone Vittorio called the Lapis Paradisus, for he believed it held secrets to open a gateway into a perfect world beyond good and evil. The expedition searched Roman ruins in France and crossed the Pyrenees Mountains into Spain, where the path led to the catacombs beneath the Portuguese city of Sintra. The citizens there considered the catacombs sacred, and Tarhos would have to kill the villagers guarding the entrance to retrieve the stone. Not wanting to shed blood, Vittorio commanded Tarhos to find another way, but Tarhos, who had seen the most horrific acts committed under the guise of chivalry, refused to be dissuaded by pretenses of honor. He waited for Vittorio to ride back to camp, and then, with a mighty roar, he pushed forward, cutting a path of blood and gore into the darkness until he had the stone in his grasp. Upon returning to the town of Portoscuro, Tarhos imprisoned Vittorio in his own dungeon, demanding to know the meaning behind the symbols etched in the stone, and when Vittorio refused to talk, Tarhos brutally tortured his friends and relatives and made horrific displays of their bodies in the streets. But nothing he did shook Vittorio's resolve to keep the secrets of the stone from Tarhos, and enraged, Tarhos seized control of Vittorio's riches and raised a small army. Within months, Tarhos fearlessly marched upon the Guardia Campania, decimating their barracks, freeing his followers, cutting down his enemies like twigs, and collecting their righteous heads for his growing displays of valor. In time, several lords in neighboring provinces believed Tarhos was the very embodiment of evil. They banded together to create a moral and virtuous army to purge evil from Portoscuro. Tarhos ignored their threats. He viewed the lords as a cowardly lot who cloaked their greed and ambition in laws, codes, and platitudes. Laws and codes and platitudes designed to hide from the very darkness Tarhos embraced and accepted without judgment. But with his enemies on the march, Tarhos headed towards the dungeon to give Vittorio the death he deserved. He refused to afford him even the slightest hope of rescue. With dark intentions, he entered the small prison, wound his way into the bowels of the earth, and pushed through a torch-lit corridor. He hesitated for a moment, realizing he would never learn Vittorio's knowledge and secrets, but neither would anyone else. That was good enough for him. And so he unlocked and kicked open the dungeon door. 2 quick strides brought him to an empty, rat-infested chamber. Tarhos stood still for a moment, then a roar of indignation burst out of his lungs as the sounds of battle suddenly reverberated through the town. Instantly he stumbled through the corridor, rushed upon the twisting stairs, vaulted out of the moonlit doorway, and charged through pools of gleaming blood and viscera, smashing and shattering his way through the enemy. The moral and virtuous lords rained flaming boulders and tree trunks among the town, bursting through homes, crushing villagers like worms, pounding the ground and igniting stacks of hay and piles of lumber into massive tongues of fire. Amidst the carnage and chaos, the pack found Tarhos, and back to back, they became a whirlwind of death. Some believed their courage gave them luck. Others believed something otherworldly protected them. Whatever it was, they alone felled dozens of warriors as easily as stomping and crushing beetles. And as they butchered the enemy, Tarhos didn't notice the strange fog rising from the fallen corpses and clattering armor until he couldn't see 2 inches in front of him in any direction. He's also got all that hair in his face, so I don't know how he sees anyway. Tarhos stumbled forward, groping in the thick fog like the dark fluid his mother forced down his throat all those years ago. His coordination and sense of direction was confused as he called out for his pack. How long he stumbled in the almost perfect darkness, he did not know, but suddenly the fog dissipated to reveal a phantasmal wasteland of rotting bodies and burning villages and great crumbling towers leaning drunkenly on the horizon. He stared in awe. A familiar high-pitched whine sounded in his ears, and his skin began to prickle. He stood transfixed, realizing by some incredible chance his heart had found exactly what it had been searching for all his life. He didn't need Vittorio. He didn't need the stone. He had found his paradise. He had found the beauty and the horror. He had found the sublime. So it's very strange to me how his hair hangs out of the visor here. And I think some of you find it strange as well, because when I did the post detailing all of the changes that Dead by Daylight said that they were going to make post-PTB, the public test build, and into the main version of this DLC coming out tomorrow, there were many of you who made a comment saying, I can't believe they're not addressing his hair in the changes from the PTB. I don't know, this is such a strange look with the hair hanging out of his visor. I'm very curious to see what other cosmetics Tarhos the Knight might have here, and if we will get to see his face at all to kind of make a sense of what this hair is all about, because it reminds me of Cousin It from the Addams Family. Frankly, if I'm being honest, the hair hanging out of the visor is just a strange look to me. So I'm curious to see what his other cosmetics are going to be like. And yeah, so this DLC is coming out tomorrow, and if you want to get the exclusive cosmetic that's connected with the DLC, you're going to have to buy the entire DLC from the platform shop. Ever since the in-game store opened with the Curtain Call chapter, there has always been a exclusive cosmetic connected to the chapter that you get if you buy the entire chapter at once from your platform store. So it's a bonus rather than if you buy individual characters from the in-game store. So keep that in mind if that's something that's important to you. It's been this way ever since the white slip dress for Kate with that DLC. People ask me, well, what about the other chapters that came before that? Well, there wasn't an in-game store before that. So it was only once the in-game store began that they made an exclusive cosmetic connected if you bought the whole DLC. So keep an eye out for that. I don't know what it's going to be. Probably going to be something for Vittorio. Generally, for original chapters, that's the way it has been. The exclusive cosmetic has always been tied to the original survivor as an extra cosmetic piece. So keep that in mind if before you buy anything tomorrow. And I'm also going to be streaming tomorrow when the chapter launches, and I'll have some codes to give away. So if you can't necessarily afford the chapter, maybe come hang out with me on Twitch tomorrow when the new content drops, and we'll be giving away some of those chapters to some lucky viewers. Also, if you are someone who plays on Epic and you intend to buy the DLC, or actually with any purchase that you make on the Epic Game Store, you always have the opportunity to support a creator of your choice by entering their creator tag. That helps support, you know, the creator that you choose. And obviously I would be very grateful if you were to put my name in on that box whenever you make any sort of a purchase, whether it be this DLC or Fortnite V-Bucks or whatever it could be on the Epic Game Store. So you always have the opportunity to do that, and it's free. So it's a free way for you to help support a creator that you enjoy. And I obviously would be very grateful. That's all I have for you today. That's the lore of the night here, and we'll see what the play is like tomorrow with those post-PTB changes once this chapter drops. Probably the new content will go live at 11 a.m. Eastern on Tuesday, and then the DLC always shows up an hour later, so don't panic if you don't see the DLC available right away. For whatever reason, the DLC doesn't show up in the platform store until an hour after the chapter is launched. You're going to have to wait an hour before you can buy the whole DLC to get that cosmetic exclusive item connected with the DLC. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. Thank you so very much for watching. Appreciate the time you spend here with me on my channel, and we'll see you tomorrow. Take care of each other and out of the fog. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
It's a Gen Rush life for us. It's a Gen Rush life for us. Set a hiding, we do gens. Set a randoms, we got friends. It's a Gen Rush life